So much hype around it. Most talk about adaptation of the year running in the theaters. It was so much more than just a voyage. We are all blown away by the scale of the film. But The Odyssey has survived nearly 3,000 years because of its literary weight. Of course, it is predictable. But if you are going to adapt it, you have to move in step with its rhythm. I think it is time to discuss if it is worth the hype. Welcome to the cult stage. Movies, music, celebrity culture, internet debates, trends. These are not just entertainment. They are reflections of what we are fascinated by, afraid of, and arguing about. This channel explores those conversations. So let us begin with the biggest one of the moments, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey.
Promise me you will come back.
What if I can't?
For months before its release, The Odyssey has dominated conversations online. Every casting announcement became a headline. Every trailer dissected frame by frame. Some are calling it Nolan's masterpiece before it has even settled into cinemas, while others think the hype has far exceeded the film itself. But now that the most talked about adaptation of the year is running in the theaters, having already secured an impressive $257.8 million worldwide during its opening weekend, I think it is time to discuss if it is worth the hype. But let's talk first about the OG Odyssey. The Odyssey by Homer is a 12,000 plus line epic poem based upon the 10-year eventful journey of ancient Greek heroic king Odysseus of Ithaca back home after the Trojan War, which makes a total of 20 years because he left 10 years ago, fought the war and traveled back home for another 10. It was so much more than just a voyage. It is a story of regret and guilt and sudden discovery. Critics seem to have wholeheartedly welcomed it. We are all blown away by the scale of the film, the blend of grand visuals, emotional storytelling, and Nolan's filmmaking make it an undoubtedly breathtaking cinematic spectacle. Let me be blunt here for a minute. For those who actually really knew enough about Homer's Odyssey, never needed a film. But for movie lovers, it is a good opportunity to see this legendary epic come to life. Let's talk about the tech gear of this movie. So much hype around it. It is the first full-length feature movie shot entirely on IMAX camera with minimal CGI and real locations. But only around 40 theaters worldwide can screen it in the native 15 by 70 format. We know IMAX cameras capture better image resolution and details than others. They are expensive and inconvenient to regularly handle due to their size and deafening noise. For this, Nolan and the IMAX team created a new camera called the Kaylee camera. This film is undoubtedly a cinematic achievement with the intensity of practical filmmaking involved. With a budget of $250 million, I'm sure all the money went into real locations, handcrafted sets, practical effects, and extensive logistical planning rather than excessive CGI. And trust me, you won't be able to unsee it once you go. The film is designed to make audiences feel as though they are traveling alongside Odysseus rather than watching a digitally created world. But if technological innovation alone could make an adaptation immortal, the verdict would already be in. But The Odyssey has survived nearly 3,000 years because of its literary weight. The real test is not whether Nolan mastered the camera, it is whether he mastered Homer. Let's talk about the casting with this movie. While some viewers are disappointed with almost everyone in the cast except Matt Damon as Odysseus, others could have asked for a stronger lineup. Christopher Nolan has assembled what feels like a roll call of Hollywood's biggest names: Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Zendaya, Robert Pattinson, Lupita Nyong'o, and Charlize Theron, many more. From a commercial perspective, it is a win-win as A cast this charismatic naturally pulls audiences in, making a 3,000-year-old epic feel less intimidating to today's viewers. But that very strength has also become one of the film's biggest talking points. Many believe such recognizable faces make it difficult to forget the actors and fully step into Homer's world. Others have questioned whether some casting choices feel too modern for a story rooted in Bronze Age Greece. Nolan, however, has dismissed these premature criticisms, insisting that judging a performance before seeing the film misses the point of adaptation itself. Still, this debate raises an interesting question. Has not the Odyssey always evolved with times? For nearly 3 millennia, Homer's poem has survived because every generation has reimagined it in its own way. The real check now is not whether the cast looks like ancient Greeks, it is whether they can carry the emotional burden of one of the literature's greatest journeys. If the visuals are rooted in antiquity, the dialogue certainly does not sound like it. One of the first things viewers pointed out after the trailers dropped was hearing Odysseus and Telemachus speak in clear modern English with American accents. For many, it instantly broke the illusion. Instead of feeling transported to ancient Greece, it felt as though these legendary figures had simply walked in from present day America. But then, what should exactly the Odyssey sound like? Ancient Greek is not a language modern audiences speak, and every version of Homer's epic that we read today is already an act of interpretation. Nolan is not translating Homer's exact words, he is translating the emotional effect for a 21st century audience. Linguists have even argued that using contemporary speech mirrors what oral storytellers did back in time. They performed the tale in the language their own audiences understood. This method has worked for text interpretation so far. To see if it works for films is for the viewers to decide. Whether the audiences embrace it or not, it is already evident that some will hear authenticity lost in translation, others will hear a 3,000 years old story finally speaking in our own language. Let's do the relevance talk. Every adaptation runs into the same question. Is it being faithful to the original, or is it being faithful to its own vision? From the early reactions, Nolan seems less interested in reproducing every mythological detail and more interested in preserving what the Odyssey feels like at its emotional core. Some viewers have praised the film for making Odysseus' homecoming feel deeply human. Others have called it too human, as the presence of the gods and the larger mythic spectacle have been reduced, stripping away part of Homer's grandeur. But wait, there is a greater irony. Nolan designed this film in a 15 by 70 IMAX for the rarest cinematic experience possible. Yet, only a small number of theaters in the world can actually project it. Other people, including audiences in India, will watch a cropped or digital version of the film. Although this is not much harm, the very format Nolan obsessed over will remain out of reach for the vast majority of viewers. And maybe that is strange, but fine for such adaptation. Homer's poem has not come this far because of one definitive performance or interpretation. It survived because each generation told it in its own way. So if Nolan's film succeeds in sending people back to Homer, then it has already justified its existence as an adaptation. For people who are calling this film predictable, that is a pretty useless comment. The Odyssey has been with us for long now. Of course it is predictable. We only are watching this film to see what all we have read and heard come to life on big screens, and that too with Christopher Nolan's practical filmmaking. One thing I'd like to mention is that people who are deeply rooted into literature might not be satisfied with this movie, as I have seen that readers have high standards and possessiveness for alignment with the OG Odyssey. I came across an argument stating that ridiculous to expect a fiction movie to be exactly in line with the epic poem. But what then is the whole point of creating an unsimilar, unjust adaptation of a text that has already managed to come so far over 3000 years by itself. People already have the story, they do not need the movie. But if you are going to adapt it, you have to move in step with its rhythm, because without this epic poem as its backbone and Nolan's vision behind the camera, there wouldn't be much reason to chase its hard won tickets. That is all for now, but one thing is certain: very few films become cultural events before they even arise, and perhaps that is what makes this story worth talking about. Thank you so much for watching this video. I am Shagun Verma, and this has been The Cult Sage. Until next time, stay curious.